Hi all, welcome to the Success Club. I am reading now for you The Art of Money Getting, or the Golden Rules for Making Money by P.T. Barnum. I'm at the first chapter. I will read like 5 chapters each video. There is in total 20 chapters, and so there will be about 4 videos. And if you haven't seen the introduction already, check that one out, and also check out my Nu Skin website, the mynewskin.nl. Link will be down below. And let's get started. Let's get down to business. Don't mistake your vocation. The safest plan and the one most sure of success for the young man starting in life is to select the vocation which is most congenial to his tastes. Parents and guardians are often quite too negligent in regard to this. It's very common for a father to say, for example, I have 5 boys. I'll make Billy a clergyman, John a lawyer, Tom a doctor, and Dick a farmer. He then goes into town and looks about to see what he will do with Sammy. He returns home and says, Sammy, I see watchmaking is a nice genteel business. I think I'll make you a goldsmith. He does this regardless of Sam's natural inclinations or genius. We are all no doubt born for a wise purpose. There is a much diversity in our brains as in our countenances. Some are born natural mechanics, while some have great aversion to machinery. Let a dozen boys of 10 years get together and you will soon observe 2 or 3 are whittling out some ingenious device, working with locks or complicated machinery. When they were but 5 years old, their father could find no toy to please them like a puzzle. They are natural mechanics, but the other 8 or 9 boys have different aptitudes. I belong to the latter class. I never had the slightest love for mechanism. On the contrary, I have a sort of abhorrence for complicated machinery. I never had ingenuity enough to whittle a cider tap so it would not leak. I never could make a pen that I could write with, or understand the principle of a steam engine. If a man was to take such a boy as I was and attempt to make him a watchmaker, the boy might, after an apprenticeship of 5 or 7 years, be able to take apart and put together a watch. But all through life he would be working uphill and seizing every excuse for leaving his work and idling away his time. Watchmaking is repulsive to him. Unless a man enters upon the vocation intended for him by nature and best suited to his peculiar genius, he cannot succeed. I am glad to believe that the majority of persons do find their right vocation. Yet we see many who have mistaken their calling, from the blacksmith up or down to the clergyman. You will see, for instance, that extraordinary linguist, the learned blacksmith who ought to have been a teacher of languages, and you may have seen lawyers, doctors, and clergymen who were better fitted by nature for the anvil or the lapstone. Okay, let's get to number 2. Select the right location. After securing the right vocation, you must be careful to select the proper location. You may have been cut out for a hotel keeper and as they say it requires a genius to know how to keep a hotel. You might conduct a hotel like clockwork and provide satisfactorily for 500 guests every day. Yet if you should locate your house in a small village where there is no railroad communication or public travel, the location would be your ruin. It is equally important that you do not commence business where there are already enough to meet all demands in the same occupation. I remember a case which illustrates this subject. When I was in London in 1858, I was passing down Holborn with an English friend and came to the penny house shows. They had immense cartoons outside, portraying the wonderful curiosities to be seen. All for a penny. Being a little in the show line myself, I said, let's go in there. We soon found ourselves in the presence of the illustrious showman, and he proved to be the sharpest man in that line I have ever met. He told us some extraordinary stories in reference to his bearded ladies, his albinos and his armadillos, which we could hardly believe, but thought it better to believe it than look after the proof. He finally begged to call our attention to some wax statuary and showed us a lot of the dirtiest and filthiest wax figures imaginable. They looked as if they had not seen water since the deluge. What is there so wonderful about your statuary? I asked. I beg you not to speak so satirically, he replied. Sir, these are not Madame Tussaud's wax figures, all covered with gilt and tinsel and imitation diamonds and copied from engravings and photographs. Mine, sir, were taken from life. Whenever you look upon one of those figures, you may consider that you are looking upon the living individual. Glancing casually at them, I saw one labeled Henry VIII, and feeling a little curious upon seeing that it looked like Calvin Edson. The living skeleton, I said. Do you call that Henry VIII? He replied, certainly, sir. It was taken from life at Hampton Court by special order of His Majesty on such a day. He would have given the hour of the day if I had resisted. I said, everybody knows that Henry VIII was a great stout old king, and that figure is lean and lank. What do you say to that? Why, he replied, you would be lean and lank yourself if you sat there as long as he has. There was no resisting such arguments. I said to my English friend, let us go out. Do not tell him who I am. I show the white feathers. He beats me. He followed us to the door, and seeing the rabble in the street, he called out, ladies and gentlemen, I beg to draw your attention to the respectable character of my visitors, pointing to us as we walked away. I called upon him a couple of days afterwards, told him who I was, and said, my friend, you are an excellent showman, but you have selected a bad location. He replied, this is true, sir. I feel that all my talents are thrown away, but what can I do? You can go to America, I replied. You can give full play to your faculties over there. You will find plenty of elbow room in America. I will engage you for 2 years. After that, you will be able to go on your own account. He accepted my offer and remained 2 years in my New York museum. He then went to New Orleans and carried on traveling show business during the summer. Today he is worth $60,000 simply because he selected the right vocation and also secured the proper location. The old proverb says, 3 removes are as bad as fire. But when a man is in the fire, it matters but little how soon or how often he removes. Number 3, avoid debt. Young men starting in life should avoid running into debt. There is scarcely anything that drags a person down like debt. It is a slavish position to get in. Yet we find many a young man, hardly out of his teens, running into debt. He meets a chum and says, look at this, I have got trusted for a new suit of clothes. He seems to look upon the clothes as so much given to him. Well, it frequently is so, but if he succeeds in paying and then gets trusted again, he is adopting a habit which will keep him in poverty through life. Debt robs a man of his self-respect and makes him almost despise himself, grunting and groaning and working for what he has eaten up or worn out. And now, when he is called upon to pay up, he has nothing to show for his money. This is properly termed working for a dead horse. I do not speak of merchants buying and selling on credit, or of those who buy on credit in order to turn the purchase to a profit. The old Quaker said to his farmer son, John, never get trusted, but if thee gets trusted for anything, let it be for manure, because that will help thee pay it back again. Mr. Beecher advised young men to get in debt if they could to a small amount in the purchase of land. In the country districts. If a young man, he says, will only get in debt for some land and then get married, these two things will keep him straight, or nothing will. This may be safe to a limited extent, but getting in debt for what you eat and drink and wear is to be avoided. Some families have a foolish habit of getting credit at the stores and thus frequently purchase many things which might have been dispensed with. It is all very well to say, I have got trusted for 60 days, and if I don't have the money, the creditor will think nothing about it. There is no class of people in the world who have such good memories as creditors. When the 60 days run out, you will have to pay. If you do not pay, you will break your promise and probably resort to a falsehood. You may make some excuse or get in debt elsewhere to pay it, but that only involves you the deeper. A good-looking, lazy young fellow was the apprentice boy, Horatio. His employer said, Horatio, did you ever see a snail? A snail? I think I have, I drawled out. You must have met him then, for I am sure you never overtook one, said the boss. Your creditor will meet you or overtake you and say, Now, my young friend, you agreed to pay me. You have not done it. You must give me your note. You give the note on interest, and it commences working against you. It is a dead horse. The creditor goes to bed at night and wakes up in the morning better off than when he retired to bed. Because his interest has increased during the night, but you grow poorer while you are sleeping. For the interest is accumulating against you. Money is in some respects like fire. It is a very excellent servant, but a terrible master. When you have it mastering you, when interest is constantly piling up against you, it will keep you down in the worst kind of slavery. But let money work for you and you have the most devoted servant in the world. It is no eye servant. There is nothing animate or inanimate that will work so faithfully as money when placed as interest or at interest. Well secured. It works night and day and in wet and or dry weather. I was born in the blue law state of Connecticut, where the old Puritans had laws so rigid that it was said, they fined a man for kissing his wife on Sunday. Yet these rich old Puritans would have thousands of dollars at interest, and on Saturday night would be worth a certain amount. On Sunday, they would go to church and perform all the duties of a Christian. On waking up on Monday morning, they would find themselves considerably richer than the Saturday night previous, simply because their money placed at interest had worked faithfully for them all day Sunday, according to law. Do not let it work against you. If you do, there is no chance for success in life so far as money is concerned. John Randolph, the eccentric Virginian, once exclaimed in Congress, Mr. Speaker, I have discovered the philosopher's stone. Pay as you go. This is indeed nearer to the philosopher's stone than any alchemist has ever yet arrived. 4. Persevere. When a man is in the right path, he must persevere. I speak of this because There are some persons who are born tired, naturally lazy, and possessing no self-reliance and no perseverance. But they can cultivate these qualities, as Davy Crockett said. This thing remember, when I am dead, be sure you are right, then go ahead. It is this go ahead this determination not to let the horrors or the blues take possession of you, so as to make you relax your energies in the struggle for independence, which you must cultivate. How many have almost reached the goal of their ambition, but losing faith in themselves have relaxed their energies, and the golden prize has been lost forever. It is no doubt often true, as Shakespeare says, there is a tide in the affairs of man, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. If you hesitate, some bolder hand will stretch out before you and get the prize. Remember the proverb of Solomon. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. Perseverance is sometimes but another word for self-reliance. Many persons naturally look on the dark side of life and borrow trouble. They are born so. Then they ask for advice, and they will be governed by one wind and blown by another, and cannot rely upon themselves until you can get so that you can rely upon yourself. You need not expect to succeed. I have known men personally who have met with pecuniary reverses and absolutely committed suicide because they thought they could never overcome their misfortune. But I have known others who have met more serious financial difficulties and have bridged them over by simple perseverance, aided by a firm belief that they were doing justly and that providence would overcome evil with good. You will see this illustrated in any sphere of life. Take two generals. Both understand military tactics, both educated at West Point, if you please, both equally gifted, yet one having this principle of perseverance, and the other lacking it. The former will succeed in his profession, while the latter will fail. One may hear the cry, "The enemy are coming, and they have got cannon." "Got cannon?" says the hesitating general. "Yes." "Then halt every man." He wants time to reflect. His hesitation is his ruin. The enemy passes unmolested or overwhelms him, while on the other hand, the general of pluck, perseverance and self-reliance goes into battle with a will, and amid the clash of arms, the booming of cannon, the shrieks of the wounded, and the moans of the dying, you will see this man persevering, going on, cutting and slashing his way through with unwavering determination, inspiring his soldiers to deeds of fortitude, valor, and triumph. Number 5. Whatever you do, do it with all your might. Work at it, if necessary, early and late, in season and in and out of season, not leaving a stone unturned, and never deferring for a single hour that which can be done just as well now. The old proverb is full of truths and meaning. Whatever is worth doing at all is worth doing well. Many a man acquires a fortune by doing this business thoroughly, while his neighbor remains poor of life, because he only half does it. He only half does it. Ambition, energy, industry, perseverance are indispensable requisites for success in business. Fortune always favors the brave and never helps a man who does not help himself. It won't do to spend your time like Mr. Micawber in waiting for something to turn up. To such a man, one of two things usually turns up: the poorhouse or the jail. For idleness breeds bad habits and clothes a man in rags. The poor spendthrift A vagabond says to a rich man, "I have discovered there is enough money in the world for all of us. If it was equally divided, this must be done, and we shall all be happy together." "But," was the response, "if everybody was like you, it would be spent in 2 months, and what would you do then?" "Oh, divide it again. Keep dividing it, of course." I was recently reading in a London paper an account of a light philosophic pauper who was kicked out of a cheap boarding house because he could not pay his bill. But he had a roll of paper sticking out of his coat pocket, which upon examination proved to be his plan for paying off his national debt of England without the aid of a penny. People have got to do as Cromwell said, not only trust in Providence, but keep the powder dry. Do your part of work, or you cannot succeed. Mahomet, one night while encamping in the desert, overheard one of his fatigued followers remark, "I will lose my camel and trust it to God." "No, no, not so," said the Prophet. "Tie thy camel and trust it to God. Do all you can for yourselves, and then trust to Providence, or luck, or whatever you please to call it, for the rest." Depend upon your own personal exertions. The eye of the employer is often worth more than the hands of a dozen employees. In the nature of things, an agent cannot be so faithful to his employer as to himself. Many who are employers will call to mind instances where the best employees have overlooked important points which could not have escaped their own observation as a proprietor. No man has the right to expect to succeed in life unless he understands his business, and nobody can understand his business thoroughly unless he learns it by personal application and experience. A man, say, be a manufacturer. He has got to learn the many details of his business personally. He will learn something every day, and he will find he will make mistakes nearly every day. And these very mistakes are helps to him in the way of experiences if he but heeds them. He will be like the Yankee tin peddler, who, having been cheated as to quality in the purchase of his merchandise, said, "All right, here is a little information to be gained every day. I will never be cheated in that way again." Thus a man buys his experience, and it is the best kind, if not purchased at too dear a rate. I hold that every man should, like Cuvier, the French naturalist, thoroughly know his business. So proficient was he in the study of natural history that you might bring to him the bone, or even a section of a bone of an animal which he had never seen described, and reasoning from analogy he would be able to draw a picture of the object from which the bone had been taken. On one occasion his students attempted to deceive him. They rolled out one of their number in a cow's skin and put him under the professor's table as a new specimen. When the philosopher came into the room, some of the students asked him what animal it was. Suddenly the animal said, "I am the devil and I am going to eat you." It was but natural that Cuvier should desire to classify this creature and examine it intently. He said, "Divided hoof, craminivorous, it cannot be done." He knew that an animal with a split hoof must live upon grass and grain, or another kind of vegetation, and would not be inclined to eat flesh, dead or alive, so he considered himself perfectly safe. The possession of a perfect knowledge of your business is an absolute necessity in order to ensure success. Among the maxims of the elder Rothschild was one, all apparent paradox, be cautious and bold. This seems to be a contradiction in terms, but it is not, and there is the great wisdom in the maxim. It is in fact a condensed statement of what I have already said. It is to say, you must exercise your caution in laying your plans, but be bold in carrying them out. A man who is all caution will never dare to take hold and be successful. And a man who is all boldness is merely reckless and must eventually fail. A man may go on, change and make $50,000 or $100,000 in speculating in stocks at a single operation. But if he has simple boldness without caution, it is mere chance. And what he gains today, he will lose tomorrow. You must have both the caution and the boldness to ensure success. The Rothschilds have another maxim. Never have anything to do with an unlucky man or place. That is to say, never have anything to do with a man or place which never succeeds. Because although a man may appear to be honest and intelligent, yet if he tries this or that thing and always fails, it is on account of some fault or infirmity that you may not be able to discover, but nevertheless which must exist. There is no such thing in the world as luck. There never was a man who could go out in the morning and find a purse full of gold in the street. Today and another tomorrow, and so on, day after day, he may do so once in his life. But so far as mere luck is concerned, he is as liable to lose it as to find it. Like causes produce like effects. If a man adopts the proper methods to be successful, luck will not prevent him. If he does not succeed, there are reasons for it, although perhaps he may not be able to see them. Alright, thanks for watching number 5. I'll continue with 6 on to 8. Next video, next 5 chapter, next video. Check out my new skin website. Join my team. Let's get rich together.